Boy, what a great group we got this morning. Awesome. Thank you all for being here today. Graham, I appreciate all your support and all the effort that we had in marketing this. We've had a great turnout for it. So I really appreciate it. I know a lot of great things that are coming up in family reunion. I'm going to tell you about that as well, too. So we have about a half an hour or so for this. So I'm going to go ahead and jump right in. I've got a lot of things that I need to share. Site selection process. This is one of my favorite ones, presentations to give for our commercial agents and also for those that are looking to get into commercial real estate. The reason I like this site selection process presentation so much because it's a path to not only helping your tenants and your buyers in commercial real estate, but this is also a path that I've used successfully to land my exclusive listing agreements, because I use this process to qualify potential buyers and sellers. I mean, buyers and tenants. So this is a great process that you can use for all of your business, whether you're representing buyers and tenants or whether you're going after listings. Next slide, please, Tris. A little bit about me. For those of you that know me, I have been with KW Commercial for 14 years. In fact, this month is my 14-year anniversary, and I'm very proud of that, to have served in a leadership in this organization as we've been growing. I'm a coach, MAPS coach. I'm a consultant, and I am a mentor to KW Commercial folks. So agents, directors, and associates that are coming into KW Commercial. So I look forward to working with all of you. I have 34 years of experience, the good, the bad, and the ugly. So I've been there, done that, probably made the same mistakes, enjoyed some of the same successes. So I look forward to working with a number of you in the future and sharing some experiences and all that. I have been a managing director, as I said, for 14 years. I'm a commercial regional ambassador for North Florida. I'm a publisher with an entrepreneurial women's magazine, and I'm a contributing writer in Buddy Norman's Shift Commercial book. So I look forward to chatting with you about some of those experiences. Next slide, please, Tris. This is the process that I'm going to run through quickly for you, and then we can have questions at the end. I'm also going to provide this to you. If you want to throw your email into the chat box, if you would like to have this PowerPoint presentation after, let me know, and I'll be glad to send it to you. The site selection process, like I said, this is the thing that will enable you to save time, energy, and effort, not only for your clients, but it will also save you a lot of time and energy and efforts, because you're going to be qualifying your tenants and your buyers, and also providing your sellers and your listing owners with the opportunity to see how you do business. So this is a process that starts off with a personalized consultation with your buyers and your tenants, primarily to make sure that you are evaluating what their needs are and what their requirements are. You are going to discuss what the strategic market analysis is. That means you determine, your geographic priorities, your demographics, whether they need to have, commercial properties nearby where that their employees can, go to lunch or do shopping or those kinds of things. Also, the site assessment will identify and evaluate prospective sites. We'll get into that. You'll probably have anywhere, by the time you finish your evaluation and you've identified them in your research, probably 5 to 10 sites that would probably fit. Then I suggest taking it down to 3 to 5 at the most to do a site selection process with them as you're running through it. Comprehensive due diligence, tour selected sites. I'm going to tell you a little bit more about that as well. Analysis, informed decision making. You have to know what the details are and the facts are before you can make those decisions. Proposal and the letter of intent, and then negotiations. Part of this process is going to be you identifying what they need in space planning, or if they need a build to suit. And then, build to suit, closing. There we go. That's where the money happens, right? For everybody. And getting the closing done, whether it's for a lease or whether it's for a purchase. And then building relationships, what that takes to keep those clients keep coming back to you for with loyalty, and to keep them working with you and providing referrals for you and additional opportunities. Next slide, please, Tris. This is what, there should not be any kind of research being done other than providing general market information for any prospect until you have an exclusive representation agreement from either a buyer, a tenant, or you're working with a listing on an owner. So you can work with them and provide general market knowledge, and then you sit down and you provide them with a presentation that showing them your skill sets and allowing them to understand that the only way that you do research and that you provide site selection, processing, and evaluation is for your clients. So I believe that this is going to be an excellent resource for you. Next slide, please, Tris. Having an informed buyer, tenant, or seller is probably the best solution that you could have to having the best results and successful results in any transaction. The more knowledge you provide them about your services, about what they need to know, about what you can give them as far as your services are concerned, is going to help you determine the best way for you to be able to work with them. The exclusive brokerage agreement is a requirement. How many of you have a representation agreement exclusively for buyers and tenants? Give me a yes or a no in the chat box. Do you use buyer-tenant exclusive representation agreements? Okay, most of you do. I see a couple of no's here. If you have yes, that's awesome. And I hope that you use them on all of them. If you haven't used one yet, you will, particularly in this day and age, and the things that have been going on inside the industry with, the lawsuits and the other things that are going on. Having written representation from your buyers and your tenants, naturally with your listing, you're going to have that with an exclusive, but having, yes, that's true. Having, an exclusive representation from your buyers and tenants will give you peace of mind, and it lets them know that you're working for them and that you will find the opportunities to work with them very smoothly as, exclusively their agent. Next slide, please, Tris. Efficient management of the site selection process results in significant time and cost savings for the client. It demonstrates your expertise to the client, your skill sets, and it secures your exclusive brokerage agreement. Next slide, please, Chris. Step one, evaluating. You kick it off with a personal consultation with them, identifying what their needs are, what their requirements are, what their expectations are in the market. We used to go ready, willing, and able. That was the qualifications for our prospects to become a client. Now it's ready, willing, and able. They may have all of those, but do their expectations match the market? That is the key today, because they may be ready, willing, and able, but their expectations don't match the market. Their price may be too low that they're asking for, or their price may be too low for what they're looking for in a lease or for a purchase, or if they're listing a property, their expectations may be too high. So you have to understand what they are looking for in order for you to be able to service them correctly. And you don't want to get into a deal and to a buyer or tenant representation and finding out that, the expectations of your prospect, who's now your client, doesn't meet the market. Now you've wasted your time and theirs. So knowing what their financial capabilities are, that means that they have to come in with proof of funds. That means that they have to come in as a tenant and complete a buyer's application or a tenant application. That means they have to have 3 years of tax returns. They have to have 6 to 9 months of money in the bank that they can prove by bank statements to show that they have enough money in reserve to be able to run their business and to handle their personal finances for 6 to 9 months, because that's usually what it takes for a new business, particularly a new business, to get started. If they're not a new business, then they'll have references from their previous location or their current location if they're expanding. So the financial capabilities is a critical aspect of this. Next slide, please, Tris. Strategic market analysis. This just isn't the geographic priorities. It's, what are the access roads? What else do they need? What's their parking look like? What are the, do they need to be on the going to work side, or are they coming home side? What is their strategy for their employees? Do they need to be near an employment or a housing market, or are they is it an industrial property, or those kinds of things? So you need to know what they're looking for so that you can leverage your expertise to be able to find the property for them. Rigorous site assessment, identify and evaluate, researching the property sites, specific sites, incorporating the client's requirements and parameters. Don't show them something that might fit. Show them things that are going to work for them. This is not the time where you can convince somebody to do a deal. You need to be able to provide them with the opportunities that they're looking for. Nothing is going to be perfect in this world. There's never going to be 100%, but get as close as you can. Next slide, please. Preview selected sites. Oh my gosh. Only one time did I ever do this, and it was the first and the last time I ever did this. I took my client out on a site tour that I hadn't viewed myself. You see the first photo there with the gun, with the gas gun at his head. Well, that's about what I wanted to do. Because I took somebody out and I had not done the site tour first. I got lost. Don't do that. Don't make that mistake. Make sure you preview all of the sites first. You walk the properties, you drive the properties, you put a map together that shows the best way for you to get there, the closest route to go in a circle, or to go around, or to go up and come back, whatever it is that you feel is going to be the best way to tour this site that is timely and that shows them the properties in a convenient manner for you and for them. Before you take them out, create yourself a spreadsheet of the top 3 to 5 properties and evaluate them and rank them. This is what you wanted for this. This is a 1 to 3 or a 1 to 5. This meets your mark there. This meets your mark there, and then grade them and rate them. And if you're evaluating the sites according to what their requirements are, and they can see that you're doing it, hopefully your requirements that you understand from them are going to match what their expectations are. And then you tour the sites with them. There's some thought process that you tour the first site is the best site, or the first site or the best site is the last site. So it just depends on, sometimes it depends on the geographic area. Sometimes you log it into the middle. So it just depends on the process and your client and the way that you want to approach it. So next slide, Tris. Due diligence on the property. Next slide, Tris, if possible. Sometimes there's a lag, so I apologize if that is. How many of you done site tours already? Throw me a yes in the site if you're experienced in it. Quite a few. Okay, good. Tris, can we go to the next slide, please? Well, if he can't move to it, I'll move to it until he can get there. Sometimes there's a lag. We're going to look at step 5, which is informed decision-making and economic market and amenity analysis. This is where you look at all the findings, you analyze it, and you work with the client to get them informed about what the property really is offering them. So, prepare your economic and amenity analysis, making sure that, you've worked with the EDC, making sure that you have got the market information or the economic information that's going to let them know where the growth is happening in that particular area. outline important essential items specific to acquisition and build to suit or occupancy. Now, that was step 5, informed decision-making, economic market analysis, and amenity analysis. Previewing the site, we've done that one. Proposal and letter of intent. Negotiating is probably the skill set that we're going to be working on and making that as effective as possible. So with the client's best interests at heart, we negotiate favorable terms, what they want and what we're looking for them. We always have to remember who we're representing here. But the other thing I found also too, in this particular day and age, that it's not, sometimes we try to be the client. And sometimes that is not the opportunity that is going to work the best for us. So make sure that you understand that you are not the client. And that, because what I mean by that is sometimes people really get into problem solving and thinking that they have to solve all the problems for the client. There are certain things that we can settle and solve, and certain things that we can't as agents. So make sure that you are a problem solver for sure for your clients, but also make sure that that you are in a situation that you understand that there's certain things that only the client can do, or only the other people that are involved can handle it in that particular situation. Negotiate lease terms, and also your sale terms and your letter of intent. Does everybody have their a letter of intent that they use? Anybody needs a letter of intent? I'm assuming that you've all been using your letters of intent for either purchase or for leasing too. Space planning and tenant improvements. This is probably, I work with architects and I work with engineers and I've worked with space planners and general contractors. And it's a critical part of being able to get the client's comfort zone and knowing what is going to be the cost for them to build out the site, or to do a build to suit, or to do tenant improvements. Having friendly architects, engineers, planners, general contractors that are going to help you identify some of these costs. Sometimes they'll come out and they'll do space planning for you pro bono in order to be able to get in front of your client. They'll do, the general contractor will come out and give you cost estimates so that you don't have to be in a situation where you don't know what the costs are going to be, so that you don't have to pay for a general contractor to come out and give you, a bid. So a lot of times they will come out and do that. If you have at least one or two that you can work with, it gives you the opportunity to kind of compete together with them, to work together with them, not compete. So, and they love that because they can get in front of your clients. They can get in front of your clients because that's the same clients that you have is the clients that they want. Work with your clients, and particularly all through the process. Be involved in the construction aspect. Know what the construction criteria is. Know what the timelines are. Know when the occupancy is. Knowing when they're supposed to be in. And each of the different sites that you're going to be touring will have different criteria as to what their timelines are going to be. So make sure that you understand what those situations are. Of course, the closing and the completion, we want to get that as close to the deadlines as possible, and to make sure that all those happen so that you can continue building your relationships.
Yeah.
But meanwhile, if there's questions, I'd be more than happy if there's something, because I went through that very fast because we didn't have the PowerPoint presentation in front of us. But if there's specific questions, I'd love to be able to address them with you. One of the things I thought was, I learned this early on with the site selection process, is I did a spreadsheet, and then I identified what was going to be, the rating of the opportunities and the site selections, and then I provided that information to the client, and they were able to work along with me, so that it was very, very effective that way as well. And they also liked it because I put a presentation package together, and I showed the map, I showed where we were going, I showed the locations, we did the demographics for each of the different areas, provided that in a package to them, so that they could identify which of the properties were probably the most effective for them. And what have you found that have been effective for you when you've put a package together in your site selection? What have you used that has been effective for you? And share some of your expertise and your insights with us if you've been successful in putting a package together that came through with the site selection process closing. Has there been one of you that have done something like that, or some of you? I know we've got...
Dale, one of the things that I've done in the past is based upon my buyer or tenant's criteria that they're looking for and the areas they're looking for, I'll go through and do some initial research on properties that fit some criteria with some pictures of the preferably of the front of the building as well as a map area, and then kind of send them just a one-page snapshot of each of these properties, because a number of my buyers and tenants, they're wanting to be able to drive drive the area to see if it's going to be a fit for them as well. Mm-hmm. While they're doing that, I'm working on scheduling a preview with a listing agent for myself to go out and actually pre-tour the properties before taking my buyer and tenants.
Yeah, excellent, excellent. Yeah, the pre-tour is really important. As I said, I made that mistake only once and did not do the pre-tour myself. And a lot of times they like to do the pre-tour as well. So you just need to make sure that they have all the information ahead of time. But sometimes, most of the time, I like to be able to give them the pre-tour myself, even if we're not going into the buildings, because if they have questions, or they may have issues or challenges, I like to be able to address it at that time, rather than having them do it and then come up with some challenges later on that I have to deal with. So is there anyone else that's been successful in doing their site selection process that they'd like to share with us?
Hey Dale, this is Richard Hall in Austin. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, Richard. How are you?
Always enjoy your presentations and your wisdom that you share, so appreciate that. I'll look forward to seeing the slides in their entirety. I had a couple of points, more comments than the questions, I guess, that I find helpful. If it's site selection for a pad site or some corner location where it's land, unless it's a large company or a national firm that knows exactly how they're going to acquire it, I like to kind of discuss optionality with clients. So in other words, they could buy the pad site, they could maybe ground lease the pad site,
Mm-hmm.
or the existing seller or developer might consider a build to suit with the guaranteed construction contract. And sometimes with all the information everybody's overwhelmed with, it's kind of nice to be able to kind of bracket things. So somebody may have liquidity issues where they can't buy it and build it, but the developer or seller may be able to build it on a guaranteed contract of some sort and then deliver it either as a lease hold or as a sale at the end result to their specs. So sometimes that's a consideration when you're looking at sites. And then optionality on just a pure lease situation, typically an improved property. I like to do kind of a matrix. When all this information, you might be sending brochures from other agents' listings and everything. But if you can put a matrix together that shows the top maybe 4 or 5 properties, like in a spreadsheet, have an address in each column for each of the property or spaces, and then how they compare just in general by price and by location and things and traffic counts, that can be really helpful to bracket it so a client can kind of come to a decision easier.
Right, Richard, and I totally agree with you. Having those different options for the clients, and my primary practice for 20 years was land. So I've done a lot of land site selection, and you're absolutely right. Having those different options of, build a suit, or having the developer do it, or looking for the developer and they want someone to come in, as a franchisee or something along that line too. So having those different options definitely gives you a better chance of getting the deal done. Also, you're exactly right as far as presenting a spreadsheet. I don't ever show another broker's information. I just provide the pictures of the property and details on the property. If it's someone else's deal or another broker, I don't market somebody else's property. I will present it to the buyer with all the details, but I don't give the other broker's flyers information. So that's just my way of doing it. I mean, they're still going to get the opportunity anyway, and it's nothing that that I'm taking away from them in any way, shape, or form. It's just that I prefer to answer the questions and go to the other broker directly myself. So
can I make a comment on what you just said?
Absolutely.
So the way I do it, which is different from yours, and I wanted to get your opinion why you do it, which is also being a concern for me. Like I use Crexy for my data, and when I want to send information to my client, it will give them everything. You know how, like I give them. I wasn't in a practice of site selection like what you're saying. I just present based on what they want. I find, property that suit what they tell me and give them the chance to decide, based on the information. But with that though, it gives them all the information of the listing agent, which has always been my concern.
Mm-hmm.
So, but now listening to you now, I'm going to be doing things differently. It will be more work for me that I have to, take out information, select the site and give them the option instead of just presenting everything before them and let them make a decision.
Right. Exactly right. And I'm not taking anything away from the other broker because naturally they're, it's their exclusive. So, I make sure that my client understands that this is a co-broker deal and that there's another broker on the other side. And we discuss that. But I just like answering questions. I let them know too, it's better for them if they don't go directly to the other broker, that they throw any questions and have any challenges or issues and discussions and negotiations directly through me. That way there's no confusion, because sometimes if they try to talk to the other broker or to the owner, and particularly if it's owner, if it's not exclusively listed or it's not listed by another broker, you can run into issues with that. So I try to keep all the conversations from my client directly to me, and then I communicate with the other agent, the other broker. Well, I don't know exactly what happened. So my screen has totally disappeared. So you can see me, but I can't see you. So I am in a technical quandary here. So I am going to do this, folks. I am going to send you the PowerPoint presentation. And I promise you that we can have a conversation on this if you have other questions and all that. Again, I am so sorry for the technical difficulties. I don't know what happened here. So again, if there's any questions, please let me know. The information will be to your slide, will be in the slide presentation to you shortly. And again, thank you for being here and thank you for your patience. Technology is wonderful when it all works. So I appreciate your attention. Talk to you soon. Thank you.